favorite artists of all time, Gustav Klimt. He is considered kind of to be one of the fathers of both the Art Deco and the Art Nouveau movement. What makes his style so interesting to me and iconic is not only his use of gold during his gold phase, but the tension he creates through 2D and 3D rendering techniques. You'll see this in the patterning that he uses that does not seem to conform to the planes of what is actually draping over, such as the fabric. It'll run straight down as if that fabric area is actually completely flat and not rounded or shaped to a figure. Here you can see I'm just working on the sketch of getting a very peaceful, kind of serene expression on Hanzo's face, while Jesse's is a little more complicated as he leans in close and holds him. Through this stage is a lot of just figuring out where shapes go, looking at the reference image for the kind of, not stilted per se, but there's a very poised manner to how the hands are, to how the feet are. It's not a free-flowing, natural, organic type of way. It feels very stylized. And you can see me adventuring into some of the patternings I'm considering at this point, which veers away from the reference image, the kiss, which you should definitely check out if you've never seen it. Originally, I was going to try to have angular, more geometric lines on Jesse and very organic curved lines on Hanzo. Eventually, I switched back to wanting to replicate the painting more authentically by mirroring some of the patterning Gustav has. But here you can see me color blocking as I figure out my palette and adding some rendering to the parts that actually will be fleshed out in 3D. Pretty much any skin. And here I'm using a charcoal brush to kind of replicate the patterning in the background, building up different colors and shades. I had originally wanted to have a lighter background to push the characters forward. Here I'm sampling Jesse's skin tone from one of the official pieces of art. I always have a hard time getting his skin tone just right, so sampling is a good way to double check myself and so that I'm not making him too light-skinned or muddying his skin tone too much. Again, using a chalk brush to rough in some texture and patterning that I'll then be working on top of. Playing with both high and low contrast. I changed the background back to a dark umber just because I felt the blue was stealing a little bit too much attention and bringing too much energy to this piece that should feel very stable and calm and peaceful in that moment of closeness for them. So I'm using several different types of stippling brushes here to add in the texture, as well as bringing in that square charcoal brush. This painting is definitely all about layers and layers and layers of detail. In the original piece, the little hill that they're standing on is actually very colorful and veers starkly away from the color palette of the rest of the piece. I didn't want to go that intense, so I chose more moderate blue, and I'm going to use more limited color palette on it. And then deciding to keep the contrast because I felt that they were kind of falling into the same area. Changing the shape a little bit to strengthen the composition and give it more of a base to stand on. Stippling with the brush, and then I'm going to actually start on the heavy-duty detail work. You see this patterning of circles and squares and rectangles with a starkness of white and a super dark brown or black, mixing in with the blues and the golds to create multi-layers of texture. Here I'm changing the shape a little bit to make it more organic and get rid of that sharp corner on Jesse's serape. With Hanzo's, I had a hard time finding exactly how I wanted to translate his patterning. The female figure in the original painting has more of a flower motif, and while I do like it, I didn't want to fall into feminizing Hanzo anymore if I could avoid it. Having him be in the female position of the original painting because he's shorter was a design choice I made consciously. and I wanted to be careful not to play it up too much. So he receives the same treatment as Jesse with bold contrast, limited color palette, and detailing. Instead of putting flowers in his hair, I went with replicating the circular shapes that they both share, adding in some detailing around their faces, and working on the hands, adding in more rendering definition. Decided to add in his little dragon wings. Another layer of detail and texture over everything. And I decided to change his arm from that storm cloud to fit more in with the texture of the original piece after adding in the sleeve so it would look a little closer to the original. Here I chose to work more with the circular and wave patterning, trying to kind of hint at the dragon's circular shape without being too derivative. Now that it's more or less finished, brighten everything up so it looks more like the actual gold of the original, and we're done. Thank you for watching, and thank you so much for supporting me on Patreon. I could not do it without you guys. You are absolutely the best. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you'd like to see more, please let me know.